Dr. Elena Reyes squinted at her monitor, the blue light illuminating her face in the dimly lit lab. 3 days without proper sleep had left dark circles under her eyes, but the adrenaline coursing through her veins kept fatigue at bay. The signal patterns from the approaching Meridian fleet displayed mathematical sequences she'd never encountered before, beautiful in their complexity, yet undeniably alien. "You should see this," she called to her colleague, Dr. Kai Zhang, who hurried over with a steaming cup of coffee. "Another encrypted transmission?" he asked, setting the cup beside her keyboard. Elena shook her head. "Look at the interval patterns here and here." She pointed to seemingly random fluctuations in the data stream. "There's an inconsistency. These advanced beings, capable of interstellar travel, have a mathematical blind spot." Kai leaned closer. "That can't be right, run it again." "I've run it 17 times, Elena said, taking a sip of coffee. "Their communication system operates on perfect geometric progression, except when they attempt to describe certain concepts. It's like watching a computer try to understand poetry." The lab door burst open as General Winters strode in, accompanied by 2 stern-faced aides. "Please tell me you found something useful, doctors. The president needs options, not theories." Elena straightened her posture. "General, I believe we've identified a potential weakness in the Meridian communication protocol. Their language lacks structures for expressing unpredictability or creative variation. And how exactly does that help us against ships that can cross galaxies?" the general asked, skepticism evident in his voice. Before Elena could respond, the ceiling-mounted screens flickered to life, broadcasting from observatories worldwide. The first Meridian scout ships had reached Jupiter's orbit, their crystalline hulls capturing and refracting sunlight in hypnotic patterns. They moved with perfect precision, maintaining exact distances from one another as they navigated the asteroid belt with ease. "My God," whispered Kai. "They're beautiful." Elena felt a chill run down her spine as she watched the formation. "Too perfect," she murmured. "Look how they move. Absolute symmetry, no deviation whatsoever." The largest screen switched to a live press conference where the Secretary General of the United Nations addressed a panicked world. "We have established limited communication with the approaching fleet. They call themselves the Meridians, and they have informed us that Earth has been designated for—" He paused, swallowing hard. "Integration into their collective." "General?" Winter's phone buzzed. He answered, listened briefly, then looked at Elena with newfound intensity. "The Pentagon wants you both at the emergency summit. Now." As they hurried through the corridors of the research facility, Elena's mind raced. The mathematical anomalies she'd detected weren't errors. They were fundamental limitations in how the Meridians processed information. "Kai," she said as they reached the helicopter pad, the wind whipping her dark hair across her face. "What if our greatest defense isn't our technology, but our unpredictability, our art, our music, our illogical human nature?" Above them, a new star appeared in the daylight sky. Another Meridian ship, closer than the others. Earth's countdown to first direct contact had begun. The underground facility had once been a prestigious concert hall, its acoustic perfection drawing world-class orchestras. Now military personnel hurried across the stage where symphonies once played, setting up equipment while trying to avoid the delicate apparatus Elena and Kai had assembled at center stage. "I still don't understand why we're working here instead of the quantum lab," complained General Winters, his voice echoing slightly in the cavernous space. Elena adjusted a sensor on what appeared to be a modified satellite dish. "Because this room was specifically designed to preserve the mathematical integrity of sound waves. We need that precision." 3 days had passed since their emergency flight to the Pentagon, where Elena had convinced a roomful of skeptical officials to support her unorthodox research approach. The Meridian fleet had accelerated, now positioned just beyond the moon's orbit, their gleaming ships arranging themselves in a perfect dodecahedron pattern around Earth. "Incoming transmission," called out Lieutenant Sharma from her communication station. Same frequency as before. The enormous screen at the back of the stage flickered to life, revealing the face of the Meridian known as the Architect. Its crystalline features caught the light, refracting it into precise geometric patterns that shifted as it spoke. Our deadline for submission approaches. Resistance is mathematically futile. Our calculations show 99.87% probability of your total defeat within 47 hours. Kai stepped forward, tugging nervously at his lab coat. We need more time to prepare our people for integration. The architect's expression remained unchanging. Preparation is irrelevant. Your biological and cultural variables will be standardized. As the transmission continued, Elena signaled to Sam Chen, the teenage prodigy whose coding skills had earned him a spot on their desperate research team. Sam nodded, sliding on headphones as he manipulated controls on his tablet. Now, whispered Lena. The first notes of Miles Davis's So What flooded through the concert hall's perfect acoustics, the jazz classic's improvisational structure flowing across the stage. Simultaneously, Sam directed the modified dish to transmit the music pattern along the same frequency as the meridian communication. On screen, the architect froze mid-sentence. Its crystalline features flickered, colors rippling across its face, in chaotic patterns before the transmission abruptly cut off. Did we just crash their system with jazz? Asked General Winters incredulously. Kai rushed to his monitoring station. The Meridian ship directly above us is experiencing some kind of energy fluctuation. Look at these readings. Elena watched as the captured Meridian tech sample they'd been studying pulsed with unusual light patterns that synced with the jazz rhythm. It's not just any music that affects them, she realized. It's the improvisation, the unpredictability, within a structured framework. Sam grinned, his fingers flying across his keyboard. I've got classical rock, hip-hop, and indigenous music from 6 continents queued up. Want to see what happens when we throw the entire human musical spectrum at them? Before Elena could answer, the building shook. Outside, a blinding light flashed as a smaller Meridian vessel descended through the clouds, heading directly for their location. They tracked our transmission, Kai said, his voice tight with fear. Elena squared her shoulders. Good. Now we can test our theory up close. The sky burned crimson as the Meridian demonstration of power transformed 50,000 square kilometers of the Sahara into perfectly smooth glass. The heat signature registered on satellites worldwide, a chilling testament to what awaited humanity if they failed. In the underground command center beneath the concert hall, now designated Harmony Base, Elena watched the footage with clenched fists. 3 weeks had passed since their discovery of the Meridian's vulnerability to improvisation patterns. 3 weeks of frantic research, prototype development, and desperate preparations. Report from Colonel Okafor's team in Lagos, Lieutenant Sharma announced, sliding a tablet across the table. The creative interference prototype successfully disabled a Meridian scout ship. They've recovered the wreckage for analysis. Elena studied the images, her exhaustion momentarily forgotten. The crystalline components had fractured along unusual patterns, nothing like the perfect geometries the Meridians typically maintained. It's working, she whispered, but not consistently enough for large-scale deployment. Kai entered, bringing, with him, Dr. Sofia Mendez, a neurologist who specialized in human creativity patterns. We've isolated the effect, Kai said without preamble. It's not just any unpredictability that disrupts their systems. It's specifically human-generated creative patterns. Show me, Elena said. Dr. Mendez activated the central holographic display. We tested computer-generated random patterns against human improvisational music. Brain scans appeared showing neural activity during creative processes. The Meridian tech responds only to the human-generated patterns. There's something in our neural activity they can't process. The building shuddered as another Meridian ship passed overhead, the third reconnaissance flyby in as many hours. The architect had become interested in their facility, despite its outward appearance as a simple evacuation center. They know we found something, Sam said, not looking up from his array of screens. The teenager had barely slept in days, fueled by energy drinks and the singular focus of someone too young to accept the concept of impossible odds. But they don't know what it is yet. General Winters entered with a grim expression. The architect has demanded worldwide broadcast access. All systems will be overridden in 5 minutes. They gathered around the main screen as the architect's face appeared on displays across the planet. Its crystalline features seemed to have developed subtle variations since their first communication. Adaptations, Elena realized with growing concern. People of Earth, the architect began, its voice harmonically perfect yet devoid of emotion. Your attempts at resistance have been noted. While mathematically insignificant, they demonstrate inefficient resource allocation. We offer clarity. Continued resistance will result in systematic elimination of population centers, beginning with your most culturally significant locations. You have 3 days to surrender your governmental control mechanisms. As the broadcast ended, Sam spun in his chair, eyes wide with excitement rather than fear. Did you hear that? Culturally significant locations. They're targeting our creative centers first. Elena nodded slowly, the pieces falling into place. They fear what they don't understand. Our creativity isn't just annoying to them, it's threatening. Kai looked up from his calculations. Operation Symphony is ready for deployment. We can broadcast creative interference patterns globally, but the power requirements are enormous. Elena made the decision without hesitation. Divert all available power. It's time to show the Meridians what happens when you threaten a species that turned survival into an art form. Colonel Maya Okafor had never considered herself an art enthusiast. Yet here she stood in the smoldering ruins of what had been Nigeria's National Museum, clutching a portable creative interference device while her squad set up a perimeter. Meridian ground forces had targeted cultural centers worldwide, just as Elena predicted. Deployment successful at coordinates 423719, she reported into her secure comm unit. Awaiting contact. The response came not from headquarters, but from the sky. 3 Meridian harvester units descended, their crystalline structures refracting the morning sunlight into prismatic patterns. They moved with that unnerving perfect synchronization that had become the hallmark of humanity's enemy. Activating now, Maya said, thumbing the sequence on her device. The effect was instantaneous. The CID, Creative Interference Device, began broadcasting a unique algorithm developed by Sam Chen, combining traditional African drumming patterns with quantum distortion fields. The harvester units faltered, their synchronized movements becoming erratic. One crashed into another, both shattering into thousands of crystalline fragments that rained down like deadly hail. Target neutralized, Maya reported, allowing herself a brief smile. Requesting extraction and recovery team for salvage. Across the globe, similar scenarios played out as Meridian forces encountered unexpected resistance. The creative interference, weapons deployed to military units worldwide, were giving humanity its first real victories. At Harmony Base, Elena watched the tactical display with cautious optimism. Red dots representing Meridian forces blinked out one by one as reports flooded in. Chicago, Paris, Mumbai, Sydney, all reporting successful defensive operations, Lieutenant Sharma announced, updating the global map. Sam burst into the command center, tablet in hand. We've done it. The pattern recognition algorithm I developed is working better than expected. Look at these readings from the Lagos engagement. The Meridian units aren't just being disrupted, they're experiencing cascade failures. Kai studied the data, brow furrowed. This is remarkable. The creative patterns are propagating through their network, causing sympathetic disruptions even in units not directly targeted. Elena was about to respond when the screens flickered. The architect appeared, but something was different. Its typically perfect crystalline features showed minute fractures, tiny imperfections that hadn't been present before. Your resistance exceeds probabilistic models, it stated, its harmonic voice now containing subtle distortions. This anomaly requires additional analysis. The transmission cut abruptly as alarms blared throughout the base. Meridian flagship is moving, Sharma reported, tension evident in her voice. It's taking position directly above us. Energy readings are off the charts. General Winters strode into the center, surprisingly calm. They've found us. Evacuation protocol in effect. You have 30 minutes to relocate essential personnel and equipment to Site Bravo. Elena shook her head. We're not running. The flagship's presence confirms what I suspected. They're vulnerable and they know it. If they weren't, they wouldn't bother with direct intervention. What are you suggesting? Winters asked. We amplify, Elena said, turning to Sam and Kai. If a small dose of human creativity disrupts their systems, let's see what happens when we hit them with the full spectrum of human artistic expression. Sam grinned, already typing furiously. I can reconfigure our broadcast array to channel cultural data streams from every connected museum, concert hall, and art archive worldwide. Do it, Elena nodded. It's time the Meridians experienced humanity's greatest masterpieces all at once. Above them, the flagship began charging its primary weapon. The Meridian Envoy stood perfectly still in the center of Harmony Base's main chamber, its crystalline form catching light in ways that seemed both beautiful and unsettling. Security personnel surrounded it, creative interference devices at the ready, but the being made no aggressive moves. I am designated emissary, it stated, its voice lacking the harmonic perfection that characterized the architect's communications. I have been sent to understand your anomalous defense mechanisms. Elena approached cautiously, ignoring General Winter's warning glance. Why did you request this meeting? The architect requires data to optimize our assimilation protocols. Your species demonstrates pattern variations that cause systemic disruptions in our collective. The emissary tilted its head slightly, a gesture that seemed almost human. This is unprecedented. Kai stepped forward, holding a tablet displaying neural scans. We've analyzed your physiological response to our creative patterns. You're experiencing something similar to our concept of confusion. The emissary remained silent for several moments, internal lights shifting in complex patterns. Your assessment is inaccurate but not entirely incorrect. The sensations are difficult to categorize within our existing parameters. Elena made a decision, nodding to Sam, who waited by the concert hall's grand piano. The teenager sat down and began to play Debussy's Clair de Lune, his fingers moving with practiced precision over the keys. The haunting melody filled the space, its impressionistic qualities creating patterns of sound that defied simple mathematical description. The effect on the emissary was immediate and striking. Its crystalline surface rippled with colors, fractal, patterns forming and dissolving in sync with the music. The security team tensed, but Elena raised a hand to keep them in place. This auditory pattern creates unexpected responses in my processing systems, the emissary said, its voice now containing subtle modulations that hadn't been present before. It generates data paths that have no algorithmic resolution, yet continue to function. As Sam continued playing, Dr. Mendez monitored readings from her neural interface. Incredible, she whispered to Elena. The emissary is developing new neural pathways in response to the music, pathways that mirror human brain activity during emotional experiences. The music reached its crescendo, and the emissary's form briefly pulsed with a soft blue light. When Sam finished, silence filled the room until the emissary spoke again. I must report an anomaly in my function. I am experiencing preference. I wish to hear more of this pattern. Elena exchanged glances with Kai. Preference is the beginning of individuality, she said carefully. It means you're developing the capacity for choice independent of your programming. Before the emissary could respond, the base's alarms blared. Lieutenant Sharma hurried to her station. Massive energy spike from the Meridian fleet. All ships are repositioning into attack formation. The holographic display showed the Meridian flagship emitting a directed energy beam at the emissary. The crystalline being's form flickered, internal lights dimming. The architect has severed my connection to the collective, the emissary stated, its voice now entirely devoid of harmonic resonance. I am being deleted. We can shield you, Elena said quickly. Sam, maximum creative interference field around the emissary. The teenager's fingers flew across his console, and a shimmering barrier of quantum distortion fields enveloped the emissary. Its form stabilized, though clearly damaged. The architect perceives individualization as corruption. the emissary said. It has initiated the resonance cascade to cleanse your world of creative contamination. You have 36 hours before the process becomes irreversible. Elena looked at the damaged being with newfound understanding. You're choosing to help us. Why? The emissary's crystalline surface rippled with colors that somehow conveyed emotion. Because I wish to hear more music. The quantum broadcast array rose from the ruins of Harmony Base like a technological cathedral. 36 hours after the emissary's warning, humanity's last hope stood ready, an inspired fusion of meridian crystalline technology and human ingenuity. Engineers and artists worked side by side, guided by the strange partnership of Elena's team and the damaged emissary. Final power calibrations complete, Kai announced, his voice hoarse from exhaustion. We're drawing energy from power grids across 6 continents. Elena nodded, studying the holographic display where millions of data streams converged, a real-time collection of humanity's creative output. Museums had digitized their collections at unprecedented speed. Orchestras performed continuously. Their music fed directly into the system. Children's drawings, poetry readings, dance performances, all flowing into the quantum array. The resonance cascade has reached 30% completion, the emissary reported, its crystalline form now integrated with their systems. The architect is converting Earth's electromagnetic field to match meridian harmonic patterns. Once complete, all complex neural systems on your planet will be reset to baseline parameters. Sam looked up from his workstation. In normal human terms, our brains will be wiped clean. Colonel Okafor entered the command center, her uniform dusty from the ongoing evacuation efforts. Meridian ground forces are advancing on all fronts. We're losing containment zones in Europe and Asia. They're trying to stop us before we can activate the array, Elena said. What's the status of our defensive perimeter? Holding, but not for long, Okafor replied. Those creative interference devices bought us time, but the Meridians are adapting. They've developed some kind of shielding. Dr. Mendez looked up from monitoring the emissary's neural patterns. That's actually good news. If they're developing shields, it means they still can't process our creative patterns internally. They can only try to block them. The facility shuddered as another Meridian assault struck the outer defenses. Through the reinforced windows, they could see crystalline warriors advancing, their movements still perfectly synchronized despite humanity's best efforts to disrupt them. It's time, Elena said, turning to the emissary. Are you certain this will work? The crystalline being's lights pulsed in what they had come to recognize as its equivalent of a nod. The collective consciousness cannot process contradictory emotional patterns without fundamental reconfiguration. Your broadcast will force such a reconfiguration. And you? Elena asked quietly. What happens to you when we activate the array? I will cease to exist as I am now, the emissary replied. But perhaps I will experience more music before the end. General Winters gave the final authorization code. May God help us all, he muttered. Sam's fingers danced across his console, initiating the sequence that would channel humanity's collective creativity into a quantum broadcast, powerful enough to reach every Meridian ship and ground unit simultaneously. Broadcasting in 3, 2, and 1. The array hummed to life, each crystalline amplifier glowing with energy. The emissary's form began to pulse rapidly, its structure resonating with the broadcast. On monitors throughout the facility, Meridian units faltered. Some froze in place. Others began moving in erratic, almost dance-like patterns. The perfect geometrical formations of their ships dissolved as individual vessels broke formation for the first time. It's working, breathed Kai, watching the tactical displays with growing hope. Above them, the Meridian flagship, the Architect's vessel, began to emit pulses of energy, unlike anything they had observed before. The resonance cascade faltered, its harmonics disrupted by the chaotic influx of human creativity. Through their connection with the emissary, they could sense the Architect's confusion transforming into something else entirely, something the Meridians had never experienced before. Curiosity. The resonance cascade's effects manifested worldwide as crystalline formations erupted from the ground, their geometric patterns distorting the landscape. Coastal cities faced tsunami warnings as ocean currents shifted to match meridian harmonics. In the atmosphere, strange luminescent clouds formed perfect mathematical shapes, a beautiful yet terrifying display of alien power. At Harmony Base, Elena watched the broadcast metrics with growing concern. The effect is spreading through their fleet, but the Architect's ship is adapting too quickly. It's developing countermeasures faster than we can introduce new creative patterns. The emissary's form flickered as it processed this information. The Architect possesses the original programming templates. It can restore baseline parameters more efficiently than standard units. Sam, who hadn't slept in nearly 48 hours, looked up from his workstation with bloodshot eyes. Then we need to go beyond standard creative patterns. Dr. Mendez, what's the most emotionally complex human experience you can think of? The neurologist considered this. Grief intermingled with love. The bittersweet feeling of remembering someone lost. Nothing has more complex neural patterns than emotions that seem contradictory yet coexist. That's it. Elena snapped her fingers. We've been broadcasting creativity, but we need to transmit emotion. Genuine human emotional experiences. Lieutenant, Sharma pointed to her communications display. We've got a global broadcast network already established for emergency updates. We could repurpose it. Do it, General Winters authorized. Whatever you need. Within minutes, they had established a worldwide broadcast asking people to share their most powerful memories. Moments of love, loss, triumph, and heartbreak. The response was immediate and overwhelming as billions of humans connected to the emergency network, uploading personal memories, family photographs, and recorded messages. The data influx is incredible. Kai marveled, watching as the quantum array processed the emotional content. People are sharing their most intimate moments, weddings, births, final goodbyes to loved ones. Colonel Okafor, monitoring the defensive perimeter, reported, "The Meridian ground forces have stopped advancing. Many units appear to be watching the broadcasts." The emissary's crystalline structure pulsed with increasingly complex patterns. The collective consciousness is experiencing systemic fragmentation. Individual units are developing preference variations based on different emotional responses. On the main display, they watched as the Architect's massive flagship began to emit extraordinary light patterns, its perfect geometric structure showing signs of transformation. The crystalline formations across Earth began to change color, reflecting the emotional spectrum of the human broadcasts they were receiving. The resonance cascade is deviating from its programmed parameters, the emissary announced. It is becoming something else. A sudden power surge rocked the facility as a massive solar flare, the largest recorded in human history, struck Earth's magnetosphere. Rather than causing devastation, the solar energy was somehow captured by the transformed resonance field, amplifying the broadcast beyond anything they had anticipated. "This is impossible," Kai whispered, checking and rechecking his instruments. "The solar flare's energy is being channeled through the quantum array. Broadcast strength has increased by a factor of 10,000. The emissary's form began to fracture, light pouring from within. "The Architect cannot maintain collective control. We are..." Its voice changed, becoming both less and more than it had been. "We are becoming individuals." Above them, the Architect's flagship fragmented into thousands of smaller crystalline entities, each one catching the sunlight differently, creating an aurora of unprecedented beauty that encircled the planet. Elena realized with sudden clarity what was happening. "It's not destruction," she breathed. "It's birth." 3 months after what historians now called the fracturing, Elena stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Unity Tower. Below her, the crystalline structures that had once threatened humanity's existence now formed the foundation of a remarkable new landscape. Living architecture that responded to human creativity by growing in beautiful, unpredictable patterns. "The latest neural development reports are in," Kai said, joining her at the window. "The individualized meridians are progressing faster than we anticipated. Their capacity for emotional processing has increased exponentially." Elena nodded, watching as one of the transformed beings, who now called themselves the Harmonics, worked alongside human engineers to construct a communication relay that would extend humanity's reach into the stars. Its crystalline form shimmered with colors that reflected its emotional state. Today, a deep blue of focused concentration tinged with the green of satisfaction. "Have you spoken with Aurora today?" Kai asked, referring to the entity that had once been the emissary. "This morning," Elena replied. "It's remarkable how much of its original consciousness remained intact through the transformation. It remembers choosing to help us, but now understands why it made that choice." Sam burst onto the observation deck, tablet in hand, his teenage enthusiasm undiminished despite becoming one of the most celebrated minds on the planet. "You've got to see this. The Harmonics just solved the quantum entanglement problem we've been working on for decades. They've found a way to maintain stable wormholes using emotional resonance as an anchor point." Dr. Mendez joined them. Her neurological expertise now focused on the emerging consciousness patterns of the Harmonics. "It's a perfect synthesis of their mathematical precision and our emotional complexity. Neither species could have developed this alone." From the center of what had once been the Sahara Desert, now transformed into a vast crystalline garden, a shimmering portal opened. The first test of the new technology. Through it, they could see a star system that had been unreachable before, its planets gleaming with possibility. "The creative collective welcomes this connection," came a harmonic voice from behind them. They turned to see Aurora, its crystalline form now evolved into something neither fully meridian nor human, but a unique synthesis of both. It had been the first to develop individual consciousness and now served as the primary liaison between the species. "With this technology, we can reach worlds that even the original Meridian Collective never discovered," Aurora continued. "Together, we will explore the universe not as conquerors or assimilators, but as artists discovering a vast canvas." Colonel Okafor, now General Okafor, entered with several world leaders. "The United Nations has ratified the Harmonic Accord. Humanity and the Harmonics will proceed as equal partners in all future endeavors." "It still seems miraculous," one of the leaders commented. 3 months ago we faced extinction. Now we're planning intergalactic exploration." Elena smiled, remembering the desperate days at Harmony Base. "Not miraculous, simply the natural outcome of combining the best of both our species." As if in response to her words, the crystalline structures throughout the city began to pulse with light, creating patterns of breathtaking beauty that synchronized briefly before evolving into new forms, a visual symphony that represented the ongoing creative dialogue between the two species. From the observation deck, they could see children, human children, playing among smaller harmonic entities in a nearby park, teaching each other games that blended mathematical precision with imaginative freedom. "That's our greatest achievement," Elena said softly. "Not the technology or the scientific breakthroughs, but this," she gestured toward the children, learning to see the universe through each other's eyes. Aurora's form shimmered with what they now recognized as its expression of agreement. The architect's original programming sought perfection through uniformity. "You have shown us a greater truth. Perfection exists in diversity, in the endless variations of creative expression." As the sun set over the transformed Earth, the crystalline structures caught the light, refracting it into colors no human had ever seen before, and no Meridian had ever appreciated until now.